p.m. on 3FM 92.7. Welcome to Hot Edition live from our studios here at Adesawe, Kanda, Accra. I am Grace Hammoah Agyemang. Coming up tonight, NDC parliamentary candidate-elect for Ayawasi East, Baba Jamal Ahmed, has been interrogated and released by the OSP. We have details coming up. Meanwhile, the governing NDC is racing against time to field a candidate for the Ayawasi East by-election as the Electoral Commission (EC) is set to close nominations tomorrow. We take you live to the NDC headquarters where party executives are deliberating on reports of the investigative committee, and later on we tell you why Transparency International is urging stronger anti-corruption action after Ghana's corruption perception index performance stagnates over a 5-year period. We have details of these and more coming up shortly, but before that, Nura Mohammed has the latest with the summaries.
Good evening. This is the news summary on Hot Edition. First in the summaries, the government statistician Dr. Alhassan Idrisu has announced that food insecurity prevalence rose from 35.3% in 2024, the first quarter, to a peak of 41.1% in 2025's second quarter. The rate then declined to 38.1% in the first quarter 2025 from the 2024 first quarter to the 2025 third quarter. Moderate food insecurity was higher in female-headed households. Meanwhile, the Accra High Court has dismissed an application by former Deputy Director of the National Service Authority (NSA), Gifty Oware Mensah, seeking to halt her trial and refer constitutional issues to the Supreme Court. Presiding Judge Audrey Kokuvi-Tay ruled that application lacked merit and directed the accused to comply with witness disclosure rules as proceedings continue. Also, the Association of Ghana Industries (AGI) has commended the government for the passage of the 24-Hour Economy Authority Bill 2025 into law. According to AGI, this initiative represents a bold step toward unlocking Ghana's economic potential through round-the-clock productivity, supported by a framework that stimulates investment, strengthens supply chains, and positions Ghana as an export-led economy. Also, the New Joabeng South Municipal Police Command has arrested 13 suspected prostitutes of Nigerian descent, aged between 15 and 31, during a special operation in the municipality. The police also arrested 2 alleged accomplices, including landlords and their partners, for allegedly facilitating prostitution-related activities and human trafficking. And finally, public anger over alleged vote buying during internal party elections is misplaced and should instead be directed at government and parliament for failing to enact clear laws to regulate such practices. Legal practitioner and governance analyst Austin Kwabena Bracco Powers has argued. According to him, while the public condemnation of vote buying is understandable, the absence of explicit statutory provisions governing internal party elections means such conduct largely falls outside the scope of criminal sanctions under Ghana's current legal framework. And that'll be all for the summaries. Over to you, Grace.
Right, Nura, thank you for the updates. Nura Mohammed with the summaries. Let's get into the detail of the bulletin. And tonight, the Office of the Special Prosecutor, OSP, has granted NDC parliamentary candidate-elect Baba Jamal Ahmed self-recognizance bail following his arrest earlier today. The OSP, which is investigating allegations of vote buying and bribery during the recently held NDC parliamentary primary in the Ayawasi East constituency, has invited Baba Jamal to assist with investigations. 3FM understands that Baba Jamal has since been released on bail pending further inquiries. Our reporter Noble Crosby Annan has been following the development. We'll connect with him shortly to bring us the latest on this. But if you just tuned in now, the Office of the Special Prosecutor has granted NDC parliamentary candidate-elect Baba Jamal Ahmed self-recognizance bail following his arrest earlier today. The OSP, which is investigating allegations of vote buying and bribery during the recently held NDC parliamentary primary in the Ayawasi East constituency, has invited Baba Jamal to assist with investigations. 3FM understands that Baba Jamal has since been released on bail pending further inquiries. And our reporter Noble Crosby Annan is joining us now, the lawyer of Baba Jamal, so we can listen to him.
What's the latest too on the investigation by the NDC, the party itself, on these allegations on election day?
Yes, we appeared before the team, the investigation panel. Let me really put it that it is clear. Let it be clear that what the party has put in place is to gather some evidence and substantiate some allegations that are being made. It is a fact finding also to put on, but they don't have that. So of that. So we have appeared, we have made the questions, we have answered, we have made our position clear to them that yes, we were not aware. Two, as to what the things that have been shared, that the allegation, no. And upon hindsight, if my clients had the information as to televisions being given, I think we would have advised the person who. And the difficulty thing, the difficulty is now, as we speak, because the matter is transcending into a different realm, criminal realm. The person who was generous a supporter to bring such a thing. Now you are not even going finding the person. But yes, tell the person because he knows that there's problems. He intended it for good, and if he knew, you have told him what has to be done. Even not on the election day or anything, right? And put it in a different way to how you serve. So it's I'm sure that at the end of the day, we will see what we do. But for us, we are clear in our mind that we stated our position to the party investigative committee, and at the end of the day, we will be held and say that, look, we are the rightful elected, lawfully elected NDC parliamentary candidate for the Ayawa Association.
Council, thank you. Thank you so much. So that's Council
is representing Victor Kujoga Adawudu. He's representing the Honorable Baba Jamal, the Member of Parliament on the ticket of the NDC elect in the Ayawasu East constituency, speaking with us. And what he's telling us is that as we speak, Baba Jamal has been granted bail, a self-cognizance bail. A self-cognizance bail has been granted to Baba Jamal, and then he was charged with assault, abuse, corruption-related offences, and the obstructing of justice. Four charges were leveled against him. He appeared before the OSP today, and then he has explained the side of the story and explained what happened on the day of the election.
Right, so my colleague there, Noble Crosby Annan, updating us or bringing us that live interview with lawyer of Baba Jamal. Crosby, if you're still on the line, we join in midway into that interview. Talk to us how proceedings were according to the lawyer when they met the special prosecutor.
Well, great. So, counsel is telling us that lawyer Baba Jamal, he received a letter from the office of the special prosecutor on the election day. The day of the election was when he received a letter from the office of the special prosecutor. That letter was delivered by from the office of the special prosecutor. Now, while he received the letter and attempted to read the letter, he said that he noticed, or some of the supporters noticed, that this officer from the office of the special prosecutor delivering the letter was recording the conversation between himself and then Baba Jamal, something they did not really appreciate because they did not ask for his consent or permitting the recording. So some supporters of Baba Jamal were incensed at that fact, and then they came in an attempt to stop him. And as they tried to stop him, what has generated the charges of the consent of obstruction and then the consent of abatement and the assault as well. These are some of the concerns that have been raised at the moment.
And we heard him also saying that they've appeared before the NDC committee probing the matter. What more do we know?
Well, he has appeared before the committee, and counsel is telling us that it was a smooth engagement. They explained their side of the story. This is a fact-finding meeting that the party is undertaking. This is not a criminal investigation that the party is investigating. A fact-finding meeting by the NDC. So that is what we know. They have explained their side of the story, and then they are confident that all will work for them, and they will be on the ballot paper on the day of elections, March 3, as a candidate for the NDC East Ayawaso constituency base.
Did you see Baba Jamal himself there? Talk to us about his demeanor and all of that. I mean, on the media and
Baba
other
Jamal,
interviews.
According to counsel, Dr. Kujoga Dawuda, he tells us that he was in high spirits. He thinks he's not done anything wrong, so he's very the usual self. He's being himself, having regular conversations, because in his mind he has not done anything until that is put any kind of pressure on him.
Was it only Baba Jamal that was invited, or you saw the other contestants or candidates of the election there?
Well, as we speak, it is only Jamal that we know was invited by the special prosecutor. The Hajia Amina Adam, the wife of the former member of parliament, the late Nasir Toure, we understand, was there yesterday also on the taking of the office of the special prosecutor. So far, 2 of the 5 aspirants or candidates who wanted to become MP on the ticket of the NDC in the East Ayawaso constituency have been to the office of the special prosecutor.
And we know that anytime the OSP invites people into their premises, we see their fans, supporters, and loyalists coming with them. Did you see anything of that sort with Baba Jamal?
Well, concerning supporters of Baba Jamal who went there, I can maybe just a handful of them went in solidarity, but I mean, the expectation was that their man would come out unscathed.
Crosby, before I let you go, run us through the charges again.
So the charges again, Grace, is that Baba Jamal has been charged with corruption and corruption-related offense. Number 2, obstruction of justice. Number 3, assault. Number 4, number 3 is abasement to assault. These are the 3 charges that have been leveled against the Honorable Baba Jamal. Corruption-related offenses, abasement to assault, and then obstruction of justice. Great. 3 charges. But he has been granted a self-cognizance bail.
Right. So that is a condition of the bill.
Yes, great.
Right. Crosby, thank you for those updates. Thank you for bringing us the updates from the Office of the Special Prosecutor. My colleague, Noble Crosby Annan, talking to us about the arrest and further granting of bail to Baba Jamal, one of the candidates in the NDC parliamentary primary in the Ayawaso East constituency. He was invited by the special prosecutor and he was arrested but later granted a self-recognizance bail, and the OSP is investigating allegations of vote buying and bribery during the recently held NDC parliamentary primary in the Ayawaso East constituency and invited Baba Jamal to assist with investigations. And so the charges leveled against him, they are 3. 1, abetment to assault. Number 2, obstruction of justice. And the third one, corruption and corruption-related offenses. We'll stay on this because we know it is not ending anytime soon. We'll bring you a lot more on it when we have it back. Crosby, thank you again. But let's still stay with the NDC because the NDC risk missing the March 3 parliamentary by-election in the Ayawaso East constituency unless it fails a candidate before the close of nominations tomorrow. The Electoral Commission has set Wednesday, February 11, 2026 as a deadline for the filing of nominations ahead of the by-election. The process opened on Monday, February 9, and is scheduled to close on Wednesday, February 11. Uncertainty over the NDC's participation stems from unresolved allegations of bribery and voter inducement during the party's recent parliamentary primary, although Baba Jamal Ahmed emerged as winner of the primary after defeating 4 other contenders to become the party's parliamentary candidate-elect the outcome has been overshadowed by allegations of vote buying and the distribution of gifts to delegates. In response, the NDC constituted a 3-member investigative committee led by Totobi Kwache to probe the allegations. The committee submitted its report earlier this afternoon. The party's National Executive Committee, NEC, is currently meeting to consider the findings and determine the next steps, even as the EC's nomination deadline draws closer. Our reporter Stanley Nibleu is monitoring the NDC's Functional Executive Committee meeting at the party's headquarters. Stanley, thank you for joining us. What more can you report so far?
Yeah, so Grace, I can report that about half an hour ago, the committee, the 3-member committee that was set up or constituted to fact-find the happenings at the Ayawaso NDC parliamentary primaries, met the Functional Executive Committee and officially presented the report to the committee. Immediately they finished, they exited the premises and they left. But I was able, or the media present was able to engage one of the committee members, that is Honorable Inusa Fuseni, and he actually made mention that they have actually fulfilled all what they've been asked to do, and so they've handed over the report to the committee, and so they were expectant that the committee, which is the Functional Executive Committee, would actually act on the committee on the report that has been presented to them. And so as I speak, currently the Functional Executive Committee are locked up in a meeting, going through the report, and very soon we are all expectant that they will come out with their recommendations, and if sanctions could be applicable, they will do that.
And Stanley, this is an issue that has courted a lot of public attention. Did you see any of the supporters of any of these candidates at the NDC headquarters, or even the demeanor or the euphoria at the NDC headquarters? Yeah,
so there are some few party supporters here, some few party supporters, but I cannot really say on authority that they are supporters of any of the aspirants, because they are here, and whenever a delegate or a member, a high-profile member of the NDC is walking or entering the premises, they go to the person and then they have a fraternal discussion with the person, and then the person will just either enter or exit the premises. Right. That is what has been happening here. Apart from that, I have not even cited anybody wearing any party t-shirt or any branded t-shirt of any of the 5 aspirants.
Right, Sunny, let's listen to that interview you had with a member of the committee, Inusa Fuseni.
What interview? We just want to find out if you've actually been able to submit the report to the party. 30 minutes ago when I asked, you said you hadn't submitted the report at the time.
So we have just submitted the report to the party.
Are you able to share with us what is contained?
No, we can't, because it's a committee of FEC, and so we've submitted the report.
But at least there was a suggestion from the majority caucus that you should annul the elections. Are you going to do that?
That's the majority caucus. We are a committee of FEC, and so any report that we have produced is the property of FEC.
Right, let's bring in Dr. Jonathan Asante Ocho, Executive Director of the African Institute for Strategic Studies. Doc, thank you for making time to talk to us. First of all, what do you make of the situation the NDC finds itself in at this point?
Well, let me say that the NDC is at a fix. I think they're at a crossroads now, because they will want to uphold a certain integrity with respect to elections. And they have made some public statements or pronouncements. And so it's just that they have boxed themselves to a corner. So obviously some views, some positions, some dispositions, will have to be elicited from the camp. And probably that is what we are waiting for. But other than that, I think they were a bit too quick, as it were, to make certain proclamations on the matter. Because this is a situation where we know very well that it is prevalent in both parties. And not even those who constitute majority and made a statement on that. Everybody is equally guilty. And so I felt that they were a bit too quick. And that is what has made some people to think, to create some conspiracy theories, around Baba Jamal with the view that, well, it is a woman that they wanted to win and it didn't go that way. And therefore, they are raising hell. So for now, I am just waiting to see what is contained in the report.
Doc, everybody now is also waiting for the content of that report. But while we do that, do you think the party should allow Baba Jamal to go ahead and file his nomination ahead of tomorrow's deadline and address the bribery allegations later? We know how issues of investigation can drag in this country.
In the meantime, it is going to be unhealthy. It will create an unhealthy situation for the party if they went ahead to annul the results. That is one. Two, you have a deadline to submit a candidate, I think either tomorrow or so, before the by-elections take place. Three, this is the person that has been elected. And therefore, you cannot in any way waste the time of the EC. You, the MDC, you don't control the EC. The EC has its timetable, and that is what they have brought. And the fourth thing is that I am of the view that they shouldn't annul the results because it is the EC that conducted the elections, and they declared. The party did not declare Baba Jamal winner of the elections. It was the EC that declared him elected. Therefore, the party may have to refer the matter to the disciplinary committee, or they may send some recommendations, and refer the matter to the disciplinary committee. That is my view.
Doc, if the party fails to resolve the matter amicably, would you advise the NDC to nominate a candidate outside the 5 individuals who contested in last weekend's primary?
Pardon me, if the party fails to do what?
Fails to resolve this amicably. Would you advise the NDC to nominate a candidate outside the 5 that contested during the weekend?
You see, you don't have to incur the displeasure of the constituent. Everybody taking a decision for Ayawaso East is not a constituent of Ayawaso East. And this is NIMA. You just have to tread cautiously. They think alike. If they hate you, they will hate you alike. So you have to be very strategic and politically astute to be able to deal with them. There was an infraction, vote buying, whichever way you look at it. Even if you go to court and you say that this person engaged in vote buying, you will have to prove between the giver and the receiver. If the receiver tells you that he did not vote for this person because he was influenced, in actual fact, he can even tell you that, yes, he took the television, but he voted for the woman.
Yeah.
How are you going to solve that? So what can be done, the middle line, is that the recommendations that the committee will bring, they should refer that matter to the disciplinary court, the disciplinary committee of the party, and let the process continue. After all, there's not a single person that is sinless when it comes to voter influence or vote buying or motivation or transportation, whichever nomenclature that you give it. Thank you.
It's more like a case of he who has no sin should cast the first stone.
First stone.
Right. Doug, the silence of the EC in all of this, how does it come across? Because, I mean, you said that they conducted the election. They have the right in some way to say they are annulling the election. Yet it's been almost a week, and, I mean, there's been nothing from the EC.
You see, what happens outside the periphery where the voting takes place is inconsequential to the EC. As far as the process, ensuring that it was freely, fairly, and transparently conducted, that is the business of the EC. As to the things that happen in terms of voter influence and other things, that is not their business. And that's the more reason why they have not annulled the results. Because they have declared it and the process was freely and fairly and transparently conducted. That is the position and that's the function of the EC. As for internal party politics, they don't have a hand or a say in that.
Right. Doc, thank you for talking to us. In all of this, what should be the lesson other parties should be also picking?
Well, probably they may have to start on a clean slate, institute measures, but making Baba Jamal as a scapegoat when all of you are guilty or equally guilty or even more guiltier than himself, then it will be scapegoating. And then it will also be born out of sycophancy. I dare say that for the president to even recall Baba Jamal, that is punitive. That is punitive because he did not resign. He was virtually sacked, and that is going to be part of his public record. So the party should tread cautiously. And finally, the party should tread cautiously because if they are not careful, they will tie their hands behind their backs. Because that which has happened is likely to happen in the forthcoming internal primaries that will be conducted.
And in Akan, we say, so if we are doing this here, we must also apply there. Right, Doc. Thank you for talking to us. Dr. Jonathan Asante Otre is Executive Director of the African Institute for Strategic Studies. He says the NDC should tread cautiously in this case because what is good for the geese should also be good for the gander. We are waiting for the contents of that report that has been submitted, and we'll bring you a lot more that you need to know. This is Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. Let's move away from the quarters of the NDC and talk corruption. Well, because Transparency International is calling for sustained efforts to deepen the fight against corruption in the country following Ghana's stagnated performance on their corruption index, the dismissal of former Chief Justice Gertrude Tokono, the filing of multiple petitions seeking the removal of heads of independent state institutions, and the discontinuation of corruption cases involving members of the ruling government have all been cited as factors contributing to Ghana's underwhelming performance on the Corruption Perceptions Index. Ghana's latest score of 43 out of 100 on the 2025 Corruption Perception Index released by Transparency International Ghana suggests that Ghana continues to grapple with persistent corruption, weak enforcement of legal and policy frameworks, and fragile state institutions tasked with fighting corruption. Ghana has largely stagnated on the index, maintaining a score of 43 since 2020, before slipping further to 42 in 2024, highlighting a worrying lack of sustained progress. Let's listen to Michael Boydie. He is fundraising manager of Transparency International.
Very well. So the Corruption Perception Index is a perception index. Now, what happens is that they normally would take some governance issues. So every year, certain governance issues are weighted, and the score is used. Now, into this year, we use the Transparency International use the independence of the judiciary. They use civic space. They use integrity of public office and the like. That is what informs the score. Now, so then you come back home and ask yourself, what are the issues relative to independence of the judiciary? The manner in which the Chief Justice was removed was key. How would this shape or inform the perception of citizens as to the integrity of governance and in Ghana? Yes, it will. So therefore, citizens are likely to perceive that, look, the fight against corruption is not making the desired progress as we wanted. Oral. People greeted Oral with a lot of hope and anticipation. The whole of 2025, very little was ahead of Oral. Does that encourage citizens to think that we are making progress with the fight against corruption? No. oral to many Ghanaians had created a lot of dissonance. That is in the minds of Ghanaians. Then let's talk about civic space. I'm sure the issue about the issue of institutions, public institutions denying citizens rights to information is countless. I can't list them. Day in and out, it is reported about the Right to Information Commission fining fining organizations for denying citizens or citizens the right to information. When this persists, people would ask the question. People ask the question: what do these institutions have to hide? That also informs perception of corruption. So a number of happenings within the year of under review informs the perception of corruption in the country.
So that was Michael Boydi, his fundraising manager of Transparency International. Let's speak with the chief crusader of the civil society group Crusaders Against Corruption, Emmanuel Wilson. Mr. Wilson, thank you for your time. Let me begin from our scores so far, 43. That's what we've been for some number of years now. What does this say about the effectiveness of our anti-corruption institutions and political leadership?
Thank you for having me. What it simply tells us is that as a country, over the past years, we are only pretending to be fighting corruption. But in reality, we are not fighting it. In other words, we are not making any inroad in the fight against corruption. It is so clear. In fighting corruption, I have said consistently that it is not a rocket science. It only involves three elements. The first one is anti-corruption institutions. The second one is anti-corruption laws. And the third, the willpower from the leadership or the leaders. In Ghana, as it stands now, when it comes to anti-corruption institutions, to a very large extent, we have them. When it comes to anti-corruption laws, to a very large extent, we have them. But when it comes to the application of these two, for us to get the result that we need, that is where we lack the will. The will coming from the leaders, the ones that are in charge of the application of laws and making sure that the institutions are working effectively. So for us to do that, and for a number of years now, we've been consistent at a certain rate or a certain number. It only tells us that we are only pretending and creating the impression that we want to fight it, but in reality, we are not fighting it.
Was in Transparency International cites specifically the dismissal of the former Chief Justice and also the discontinuation of corruption cases involving members of the ruling government. The institutions involved in this, like the Attorney General, gave reasons why these cases were discontinued. If you listen to people in the law fraternity, they will tell you that the whole process that led to the removal of the former Chief Justice was a test of our judiciary and it has its pros and cons. You don't think these were processes that went through the rights and channels and came to where they are? So there shouldn't be reasons why we should not perform well on the perception index?
Remember that what we are discussing now has to do with perception and not fact or factual. You cannot influence or control the perceptions of people. You can only influence the facts that people must consume. In this case, we are dealing with perception. Whether or not the processes involved in taking the Chief Justice was right or was not right, that does not help anyone or cannot influence or decide anyone's perception. There are a number of people who say that, well, the fact that someone, and in this case the executive, or is trying to take out the Chief Justice, my perception is that the executive want to influence or infiltrate into the judiciary. That is possible. So perception in itself, it becomes very difficult for us to conclude on it simply because it is not factual, it is perception. But I'll give you a typical example. This particular year, we are in the month of February. God willing, next year around, we'll be discussing the corruption perception index for 2026. two major things have happened this year. And whether we like it or not, it will shape the perception of Ghanaians, which will inform our ranking for next year or for 2026. One of it has to do with the NPP's presidential primaries. The second one had to do with the NDC's parliamentary primaries that took place at Ayawaso East. Both primaries or both elections, there were perceived money sharing. There were perceived vote buying and vote selling. Remember, vote buying and vote selling is a criminal offense. It is corruption, and it's a criminal offense. As we speak, when you go into the Criminal Code of Ghana, 1960, when you look at Section 240, when you look at Section 241, there are clear laws that stipulate or say that anyone who buys votes or anyone who sells votes has committed a corrupt practice which is defined as a crime. Today, these two events have taken place. The institutions that are supposed to make sure that this thing doesn't happen, for instance, the police and then the Special Prosecutor's Office, they are there in this country. In fact, they were present at these two events. Now, the laws that are supposed to apply, Section 240, Section 241, as I have indicated, they are there in our book. Ghanaians are looking at whether or not these institutions I've mentioned, whether or not these laws that we have
we just
will be
mentioned
applied.
that the Office of the Special Prosecutor, in fact, earlier today arrested Baba Jamal at their premises and just gave him a self-recognizance bill. So at least the Office of the Special Prosecutor has started working, though we are yet to hear from the Ghana Police Service.
That is very true. But remember that this is not the very first time the Office of the Special Prosecutor has done a similar thing. Indeed, as far back as 2019, that was the very first time the current Special Prosecutor, Titi Jamin, told all of us that he was going to investigate into vote buying and vote selling matter or event. You have arrested Baba Jamal. You've given him Baba. The next move don't see or about event, the conclusion of this event for it to serve as a deterrent, it deepens the perception of the Ghanaian populace that indeed, even though we have the institutions, laws and the institutions are pretending to be fighting corruption. Very comfortable to conclude that 2019, when the Special Prosecutor went to arrest some people in the name of they engaging in vote buying and vote selling, it was just a pretense because we didn't get to the logical conclusion of it. And so it's not just about the arrest, it is about the application of the law to ensure that we get to the logical conclusion. That's the only time when the results come out, that's the only time the perception of Ghanaians will be influenced.
Right. The Transparency International also says that people had high hopes for Operation Recover or Loot Oral, but it appears that the steam on that has gone down. It's rather creating a dissonance in the minds of Ghanaians. As a corruption crusader, what is your take on how slow or how fast Oral is moving or has moved? Do you side in this?
I agree perfectly because one of the key things or components that influenced the outcome of the 2024 election had to do with perceived corruption or corruption cases. And so when the president came out, and one of the first things he did was to constitute a team in the name of Oral. And what they were supposed to do is investigate perceived or gather evidence that was on perceived corruption and corruption-related matters in the previous administration. They did say, because at least all of us saw the report. When they brought the report up, it further gives the Ghanaian populace a very high hope that indeed this government is committed to fighting corruption. Remember, I told you that it is not the process that really influences the perception, but the outcome.
Right.
And so even though Ghanaians had that perception that they were in high spirit, as yes, the process has begun. That high spirit started diminishing when they perceived that the oral cases have now become a lost case. Indeed, it became so worrying for Ghanaians. If you should interview the average Ghanaian on the street, they became so disappointed when the issue of free bargain started coming in. And they were like, oh, so it is like much I do about nothing. The people can go and store, and as long as they belong to a political party, they can negotiate and then find their way out of it. Ghanaians became disappointed, and it influenced their perception. And so, consistently, I keep saying that what is important for Ghanaians when it comes to perception of corruption and corruption-related matters has to do with significant outcomes, and not just the process.
Talking about significant outcomes, what urgent steps should we be taking to improve upon our perception in the next ranking, but also really to see changes in the state of corruption in this country?
One of the things that has happened today, which I'm very happy of, is a letter coming from the Chief Justice, coming out to tell us that he has constituted a special court. And that court is going to be in charge of corruption and corruption-related matters coming from the Auditor General's report, matters coming from the OSP and all of that. The truth of the matter is that when we have such a court, we are expecting that the excuse of delayed process, court delayed or judicial delay when it comes to corruption cases, that will be kept with this special court that has come. I am proposing with immediate effect that the executive should be up and doing and ensure that the anti-corruption institutions are working, they are up and doing. I am expecting that the executive, including the legislature that have got an oversight responsibility over the executive, to make sure that the anti-corruption laws which emanated from the legislative arm of government are being adhered to specifically. Truth of the matter is that what the special prosecutor did today, if he had done it promptly on the day of the elections without waiting for press releases to be flying, before it is perceived that because the press releases came, that's fine, why he was forced to go and do this arrest. But if he had taken that bold decision by applying the law on that day, because he even told us that some of his officers were there on that day, some were even abused or they were attacked. So if his people were there, the people should have arrested the ones that he needed to arrest. The police should have arrested the ones that he needed to arrest. If that had taken place, the perception would have been totally different from waiting for about 2-3 days before deciding that you are going to have an arrest. This issue of arrest that we are talking about now, as I indicated, the same thing happened during the NPP presidential primaries, which was just a few weeks ago, about 2 weeks ago. The special prosecutor, in helping to shape the perception of Ghanaians that indeed we are fighting corruption, it shouldn't just end it at going to arrest one faction, that is Baba Jama. You should say that the law talks about vote buying and vote selling, irrespective of which political party is involved, irrespective of which individual is involved. You should go and arrest those individuals that were also seen sharing money during the NPP primaries. That is how you will be able to help shape the perception.
Right. Mr. Wilson, thank you so much for spending your time with us this evening. We have been speaking with Emmanuel Wilson. He is Chief Crusader of the civil society group Crusaders Against Corruption. This is Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. Talking about corruption, let's move away from that and do some other stories. And President Mahama will lead an emergency cabinet meeting on Wednesday, February 11, 2026, to discuss the cocoa sector's financial crisis. The meeting comes amid mounting concerns over delayed payments to cocoa farmers and broader financial challenges confronting Cocoa Board. We'll bring you details of that report or that meeting between the president and cabinet. Let's go to the court now. The Accra High Court has dismissed an application by former Deputy Director of the National Service Authority, Gifty Owari-Mensah, referring her case to the Supreme Court. Presiding Judge Audrey Kosivite held that the application lacked merit. Lawyers of the embattled former NSA Deputy Director were seeking an interpretation of a provision in the Practice Direction on Disclosure and Case Management Proceedings, as well as the 1992 Constitution. The court had previously ordered her to file the list of witnesses and their names during the case management conference. Gifty Mensah is facing charges of causing financial loss to the tune of 38 million cedis in relation to the National Service ghost name scandal. She has pleaded not guilty to a count of stealing, 2 counts of willfully causing financial loss to the public, a count each of using public office for profit, and money laundering, and has been granted bail. Well, the Ministry of Roads and Highways' decision to review the design of the 4-tier Swami interchange has sparked reactions, particularly from the Ashanti minority caucus in Parliament, while the minister explains that the design will now include the construction of a Kumasi outer ring road to reflect new development within the greater Kumasi area. Minority MPs insist the move is a major setback for both Kumasi and national development. As the debate intensifies, residents and road users are also sharing their concerns about what the changes could mean for traffic, business and daily life in the city. Our reporter Ibrahim Bubakar has been engaging residents in Kumasi and reports.
The Swami Interchange project, once described as a game changer for urban mobility in Kumasi, has been left in this dusty and abandoned state for several months. Originally scheduled for completion in 2024, work on the 4-tier interchange stalled due to funding challenges, bringing construction to a standstill. Today, the impact is clearly visible. Traffic congestion on this stretch has worsened. Frustrated commuters and motorists late last year staged series of protests demanding the immediate resumption of work.
The dust on this stretch is choking us and affecting our daily lives.
However, following the change in government, the Ministry of Roads and Highways indicated that there were no available funds to continue with the original scope of work. Government has now announced a review of the design, scaling it down from a 4-tier interchange while introducing an additional component, which is the construction of the Kumasi Outer Ring Road under the Big Push initiative.
It is important to note that not a single pesewa is being diverted from the original project, but in addition, over 3 billion has been committed into the network just on the Outer Ring Road alone. The Swami Interchange is indeed part of the Big Push project in Kumasi, and we are committed to ensuring that the people of Kumasi get value for money.
Although officials say the Outer Ring Road network will divert heavy traffic bound for northern Ghana away from the city center and ease congestion in Kumasi, residents remain divided in their views on the decision.
If you know you have, you want to continue the way it started, but don't change it. For that money that he have for now, and he think maybe that's what he have that he can do. No, he should hold that money and get loan and add it to complete the contract.
At that time, Mr. Agyemang, up to now,
the previous government began this project, but till date, it has not seen the light of day. If the current government is prepared to redesign it and see it through to completion, we support that decision. The 4-tier design was good, but if the current government says the available funds require a new review of the project, then so be it.
This corridor serves as a major gateway linking Kumasi to the northern parts of the country and also functions as an international transit route. The project, when completed, is expected to significantly improve urban mobility in the city and in the Ashanti region. Ibrahim Abubakar, Kumasi.
And here in the studio, my name is Grace Hammoah Agyemang. Let's go back on that emergency cabinet meeting President Mahama is holding with his ministers tomorrow to discuss cocoa sector's financial crisis amid mounting concerns over delayed payment to cocoa farmers. Let's listen to this report. Cocoa farmers across the country have been complaining about unpaid monies owed by the Ghana Cocoa Board for cocoa beans supplied since November 2025. The Licensed Cocoa Buyers Association of Ghana, during an engagement with the media on February 5, demanded an immediate roadmap from government on new financing modules for the cocoa sector.
Since 2013, Cocoa Board has become a dumping ground for political food soldiers. The one very professional organization with top-notch technocrats with deep institutional memory has lost its shine due to the depth of knowledge available. Hitherto, only the chief executive is politically exposed, and with time, the 3 deputy chief executives were also political appointees.
The minority in Parliament has also waded in, calling on government and Cocoa Board to immediately settle the arrears and apologize to farmers for the hardship caused. In response, Cocoa Board has announced that it has begun making payments to licensed cocoa buyers LBCs, while the board is also exploring new financing arrangements aimed at long-term stability. The Chief Executive Officer of Cocoa Board, Dr. Randy Abe, over the weekend on Key Point, detailed the challenges bedeviling the state agency, making it difficult to settle cocoa farmers.
Now, the LBC is giving the farmer 5,040, and you are using that 5,040 to settle a 2,600 contract signed in 23-24 but not delivered. So you have to then give the FOB, the LBC, that difference. So that is how worse the situation has become.
Challenges in the cocoa value chain. Cocoa farmers whose produce are yet to be purchased, as well as those yet to be paid after selling their cocoa beans, will be waiting to see what the outcome of the cabinet meeting will be. Their prayer is that they are paid and their beans bought to ensure that their livelihoods are protected. Well, we'll bring you details of that meeting as well as recommendations or resolutions that will come out from there. This is Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. Oreku Ampofo is standing by to bring us the latest from the world of sports. Stay with us.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to the sports segment here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7 with me, Oreku Ampofo. Let's start off from the local scene where Asante Kotoko forward Albert Amoah has embraced calls for a potential Black Stars call-up, describing it as a privilege to represent the country. Amoah, who scored 12 league goals in 25 games last season, has netted 3 times in 5 appearances in the ongoing season.
Every player will be happy to be part of the Black Stars. So I think I'm a Ghanaian, so if I will be part of the Black Stars team, I think I'll be very happy. Well, yeah, I'm also a player. I think so far as I'm Ghanaian and I'm playing, I think everyone deserves a chance. So I think if it comes that I should go and play, I'll be ready to take that task.
Meanwhile, Communications Director of the Ghana Football Association, Henry Asante-Chum, has defended the FA's decision to appoint 5 new members to the Black Stars technical team, describing it as a move performed to gain competitive advantage ahead of the 2026 World Cup.
May not go down well with people, and it's interesting how this news was received from Friday up until now. It is what it is. That's what leadership is about. But at the end of the day, you know that your aim is to make things better. So the common aim of the FA is to make the Black Stars team very competitive and very resourceful, and then also try as much as possible to make it more efficient. We are going to the World Cup, which is the biggest competition in football, so you always want to put your best foot forward. The men who will get the job done will be those who will steer the affairs of the team at the technical side. You need the technical team to be in sound mind and in good mood, and you also need the right people, the people with the right expertise to do this job.
And so that was Henry Asante-Tuim, who is the communications director of the Ghana Football Association, speaking on the new additions to Ghana's technical team. Remember that French tactician Alain Rivera has been named as assistant coach alongside Black Queens head coach Kim Lashiekegren. He would also work as an assistant coach, making it 3 assistants. So Desmond, Alain, and then Kim working as the assistants to Otto Addo. And then to enhance maximum scouting and match preparation, the FA also appointed Spanish national coach Jose Daniel Martinez Alfonso, who would also work as a head of video analyst and opposition scouting. The medical team has also been reinforced with the return of Carlos Lozano Romero as the team physiotherapist, and then there's also British-born Ghanaian performance specialist Dwayne Piasa Parkwesi, who has also been appointed as the performance coach. And we heard from Henry there defending the decision. However, let's head to the streets of Accra, where Ghanaians have been divided after the announcement of the new technical additions in the Black Stars.
They have added a Black Queens as assistant coach or something. So to me, you should let the Black Queens coach to be the head coach, but rather to be assistant, and later is to consider including the Black Queens. You understand? But the Black Star itself, I'm saying even when they I come and add Morido, Jardine Claude, it's because they can come and help Otuado. Please, what the name of Otuado is there? You mark my words. You come again and come and interview me and say you said it. There won't be any performance.
For me, new additions are going to have an impact on the team, no problem. Hope that those people that they are bringing, football now is all about technicalities and game plan. If those people have those techniques that they can help the coach, fine.
The matches are almost matches here. Me say a good coach in Yan. As you call a cap the beatings. This is a technical team able to have one man. It's more of me or Yamakan in Yachidia and can community and can your program. From Canona on Kayed Mana the answer.
And then you buffer for the coach, and I tell you another you. But as a body of a border, you can't wait him. The team was a player when them go you. Yes, bonds and over into 5 business. What has entered there? I'm going to Brazil coach like now. I'm going to Argentina coach. I'm going to Italy coach. I'm going to coach. I'm a coach. Blasano. I'm going to mean nursery. I'm going to try. Do you know when you buffer from a corner? I'm going for 20 minutes.
I quite saw my open man and now quiet and now said, no for young quiet, so anyone quiet, or anyone quiet. Or Bapa man, Nam said, no for young quiet, so anyone or anyone quiet, or anyone yet. And the coach, you know, so I had the upper man in 24 or Bayard. So I had the upper Felipe bed 20 back on, and Koya, and the other sample for no or Mabano, or Mobian on your to tone. Say, yeah, fine.
Some interesting comments coming in there after the amendment of the technical team for the Black Stars, and that brings us to the end of the sports segment here on Hot Edition, and also to the end of Hot Edition here on TFM 92.7. My name is Oreku Ampofu, and we'll be back again same time tomorrow to bring you the latest news.